Today's video is all about Clearpool, the first decentralized credit marketplace. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive into this project, looking into some of the fundamentals such as the tokenomics, the partnerships, the team, and the overall value proposition, trying to figure out whether this project has what it takes to make it to our portfolio. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins looking for opportunity. And the question is Clearpool that opportunity? Guys, we're going to be doing a deep dive. We're going to be looking into some of the fundamentals here, obviously trying to get an idea of whether we should be scaling into this project. Does it have what it takes? Is there a value proposition that we should be considering? Obviously, as the prices are coming down in this market, we have to, have a plan. We have to have a plan of what we are accumulating, what we think the market is going to be doing in the next little while, because this is the time to have a plan, right? We see good opportunities throughout the market, and should we be taking full advantage of the Clearpool price? At the end of the day, guys, we have to get fundamentally bullish. The website, the team, the overall marketing has to be on point in order for the retail investor to feel confident and comfortable to deploy capital into the project. And that's what we're going to be focusing on, guys. Our major priority today is to navigate through the website, navigate through all the documentation, and try to get an understanding of what this project is all about. And let's see if there's enough information here and detail to get the retail investor interested. All right, guys, so let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with this website. Let's scrape through it real quick. We do see, Clearpool, and then all of a sudden we have this logo. Okay, so this is where things right off the bat start to get a bit confusing, because I just want to make it very clear. This deep dive is about Clearpool, CPOOL, okay, the token. Then all of a sudden we have Ozium. Ozium, I'm assuming that's the way it's pronounced. Ozium, the blockchain for real-world asset yield. Okay, interesting stuff here. Right now they're in testnet, but given that it's part of the landing page, it starts to get a bit confusing. What is the relationship between Clearpool and Ozium? And Ozium, being a blockchain in itself, technically is a separate project. And we definitely have to navigate this from this perspective, because it's right up in front and center as you enter the website. We get, kind of like blindsided by different branding, completely different product at the current moment. So let's see what goes on here. Okay, so we have Clearpool, which is what we're talking about today, and we have a little bit of Ozium talk right here at the beginning, and then we have lend intelligently, borrow efficiently. Okay, the first decentralized credit marketplace. This is what CPOOL is about. This is what Clearpool is all about. It's a lending and borrowing protocol. Okay, so this is what it's all about. This is its main value proposition. What we look for when we look for DeFi, we look for various products, obviously financial products, some that resemble traditional finance. And here we have a lending and borrowing protocol. We can see that there's lots of loans and so on, and we have the total value locked. You can see that there's a good portion of it all locked up in here. Total value, credit vaults, and dynamic pools. There's lots of liquidity pools, Ethereum, Optimism, Mantle. You can see that just based on that, it's EVM that they're focusing on, which is very typical, especially DeFi being led by the Ethereum blockchain significantly. As you can see, staking, we have different institutional wings of their value proposition, which is Prime. We can see that Prime is kind of separate, and then you have T-Pool, USDX Treasury Pool, which is a stable coin that they got going on. We'll talk about all of this in a second, but you can see that as we come down, we kind of like see some other aspects of the project that are quite interesting, like backed by, right? They're backed. What does that mean? These are generally VCs. You see capital group. A lot of these names, these are all VCs, right? These are people that, bought into the project fairly early. These are people that are helping the project get off the ground, and these are backed by, essentially, for the most part, these are all VCs providing liquidity earlier on into the project, right? So we got to consider what that means. Are they partners? Not necessarily, okay? Strategic partnerships don't only mean, money, right? It means other aspects, especially when it comes to tech. All right, let's keep on going. Permissionless products. We see learn crypto lending. This is what the lending and borrowing aspect of things are. You know, you're going to lend, you're going to earn rewards, passive rewards, no lockup, withdraw anytime, auto compounding yield, and of course this is typical, very typical. And stake CPOOL to help secure the Clearpool interest rate mechanism. Of course, staking, you will get rewards. You have the CPOOL to Clearpool Oracle pool, and then you have the share your opinion on interest rate voting, earn yield on all of this, on staking, and so on. Okay, so you can earn passively many different ways. And then they have a bridge because it is multi-chain, right? But all we have Polygon chains, and between Ethereum and Polygon chains, so it's EVM that makes things very easy to cross-chain or bridge across various chains using the Ethereum tech stack and the Polygon tech stack. So this is very typical as well. Pretty interesting, pretty useful, and obviously very empowering if you're into a multi-chain, ecosystem, right? So that's that. Transparent and secure. Transparency, track and trace every in and out transaction. This is, brought to you by the blockchain technology that a lot of these projects use. So that's great. And protocol security, hack-in and mixed bytes audited by industry-leading security firms. Of course, this is great. Very typical as well. A lot of, projects nowadays realize that the retail investor wants to ensure that there's a little bit of transparency and a little bit of course, transparency and a little bit of due diligence with regards to auditing the contracts and so on and so forth. So this is good. And then borrowers, the other aspect of the other half of what Clearpool offers, borrowers. So an extensive network of KYC borrowers. So in order to borrow, you need to be KYC'd. That brings in that institutionalization of the project and reduces that anonymous type of identity that we particularly want in DeFi and in the crypto space, but nonetheless we understand why this has to be done, right? So KYC borrowers allows the team to kind of like filter through the various borrowers to make sure that they're valid. For example, institutional grade DeFi, you can see that there's permissioned lending, KYC and AML, so there's no funny business here. We know who they are and we know that they're not scammers and so on. So complicated access, compliant access to the largest global network of wholesale borrowing and lending of digital assets. And this is where you have Clearpool Prime. If you remember above, when I got into the deep dive, we saw that there was a portion or a section there for Prime, and this is where you get that wholesale lending, and all that wholesale lending basically goes through a KYC and AML compliance. Okay, so that's that. And then featured some of their marketing, Bloomberg, CoinDesk. This is also very typical, and it's nice to see that they're getting out there within the community on various outlets, particularly marketing outlets, and so on and so forth. And now if we go down to the footer, believe it or not, the footer usually has the best part of the entire website, because it branches off to other details that maybe the landing page doesn't offer, but the landing page should give you everything. The reality is it should, and it kind of does. It kind of gives you everything that Clearpool has to offer, and you kind of note that Clearpool is a very simple project at the current moment. It's a lending and borrowing protocol. The problem is that it brings in a layer of complexity, and the complexity begins with due to marketing, communications, and obviously brought by Ozium. That's where things get a little bit funky, because there's a lack of identity here. For me personally, as a newcomer to Clearpool, not knowing much about Clearpool, I left doing this deep dive thinking, well, what does Ozium really have to do with Clearpool? And we're going to talk about this in a second. Now you can see this is what they offer: lending and staking and CPOOL bridge. This is their main value proposition. Okay, they have the company, if you want to know about it, they have investors, borrowers, the blog, the roadmap. Guys, we'll talk about the roadmap in a second, and so on. The team, we're going to talk about the team. I got a lot of information there for you guys, how it works, lending and borrowing, the protocol, staking. This is all very typical in lending and borrowing protocols. Okay, so very, very typical. Now let's move on. Let's talk about what Ozium really is. Okay, so Ozium, this is not a deep dive on Ozium. This is another tech implementation, but home of real world assets, the blockchain for real world asset yield, launched by Clearpool, backed and supported by Optimism. Okay, so what we really have to understand here is that this is a separate project, okay? And they are focusing on real world assets. And the reality is this is an independent blockchain. Now, I don't know exactly what the future holds here. Unfortunately, the roadmap is severely outdated. There's no roadmap that entails what's going to be happening now or even in the immediate short term. So I don't even know exactly how it's going to be integrated, but I do know this based on, documentation, and all I do is read documentation, the communication that is provided by the team. As we do our best to kind of go through this, but it's launched by Clearpool, the leading DeFi credit and real-world asset lending protocol. The real-world asset lending protocol, as you can see, the CPOOL doesn't even talk about real-world assets. But that's fine. It could be the leading. We can assume that it's a leading DeFi credit protocol. That's fine. And what's interesting here is that the actual token, which is Clearpool, is going to be used in the Ocean ecosystem as the gas, as the driver. Okay, so this is important. It's important because then it increases utility for Clearpool. It doesn't mean that Ocean itself has really much to do with Clearpool other than the liquidity provided, but this is a separate blockchain. This is a completely separate project. So I really want to do is separate what Ocean has to offer, because it's great. I'm not saying it isn't, but I am curious as to why Ocean doesn't have its own token, or if it plans on having that in the future. You can see that what is it, USDX, it's a stable coin, and again, this requires a completely whole new deep dive on its own. So if we go back to the Clearpool website, and you can see how we can quickly get very confused, because Clearpool on itself is a lending and borrowing protocol. That's it. So what does this have to do with anything? Well, Clearpool is going to be used, the CPOOL token is going to be used within the Ocean ecosystem. Okay, it's interesting stuff there for Clearpool as a value proposition, but confusing, very confusing as far as identity goes. And we'll continue this deep dive on Clearpool. Okay, so let's move on. Now, this is what it is. Obviously, the borrowers, you have Prime to the KYC borrowers, and you can see there are some people already borrowing, Gravity Team, Hex Trust, Hyper, whatever this is. You can see a few here. Of course, they're pretty active, and that's all you got here on this page. And then the lending aspect of things, you got Hex Trust, and this is all pretty much what you got here. Okay, it seems very basic. It seems very fresh and very new, and as expected, right? A lot of these projects coming out hot, very new. And then we have the staking aspect of things. You can definitely go and stake up, and you got, Oracle name different oracles, and this is the size, and you can stake and earn APY. Average APR, which is 3.38%, is not very aggressive, but at least it doesn't seem too good to be true. So at least we can, take it for what it is, and do a bit of research there if that's interesting to you. Okay, so that's that. Now, I don't want to get too much more into that, because really this is the products, the financial products that they offer. Now you have to make the decisions if this is interesting. Remember, staking into wallets that are not your own, it does provide a bit of issue as far as being able to exploited, and this, even if it's multi-sig, we know all of this already. We've seen cases of the past where things happen. So I'm not going to endorse any of this, but again, do your due diligence, do your research. They do have a contract that is audited, which is great, and Clearpool is a hot project at the current moment that they should be doing their due diligence with regards to security. Okay, so I'm not going to get more into that. You guys have to make your own decisions. Now let's move on the white paper. Okay, so this will get into a bit more detail here. Okay, we should, a Git book, you guys know I appreciate Git books. They're probably the best way to get information out to the general investor, but you have to understand that it is also a responsibility of the team to keep this thing up to date, and hopefully they did that. Now you can see that like many other projects that I've done in the past, just keep in mind, I'm at 90 deep dives right now, so I've done this many times, and I'm appreciating the fact that they actually spell out the history of Clearpool in a very clear way and with detail. March 2022, followed by the expansion to Polygon POS, Polygon ZK EVM, Optimism, Mantle. Now you can see the tech stack is here, and it's all EVM compatible. You can see that they give you dates and exactly what happened at particularly dates. So the protocol launched at TGE March 2022. This is exactly what I like to see. So you can see where TGE is and where the exact emissions and tokenomics actually take place. Okay, so this is important. Prime, non-custodial, institutional-grade marketplace where you can connect to the largest global KYC and AML compliant network for wholesale borrowing and lending. This is part of their value proposition. This is what they offer, and they have dynamics, different no lockout period, so you can exit and enter whenever you like. And then the Clearpool Oracle network composed of various institutions. We talked about this a little bit already into their product offerings. Now you can see that there's a stable coin here. The stability you need, the flexibility you want, a stable coin brought to life by HT Digital Asset, Hex Trust Real World Asset ecosystem. So it's like a third party integration here. Experience the future of stablecoins with the USDX, offering perfect blend of reliability and adaptability. This is good, of course. Do we need another stablecoin? Maybe, maybe not. This was last updated 10 months ago, so maybe that this is due for an update. Look, I'm on the fence about having multiple stablecoins. You know, we don't need as many stablecoins as we think we do. Now, their approach of trying to keep liquidity within the ecosystem is fine, and I understand the logic here. However, guys, we have to understand, do we need all these stable coins? Okay, so, and obviously that's a point of that's a point of risk, is to have stable coins. All right, so just so many stable coins and issuing stable coins that are proprietary to a particular ecosystem does make introduce a bit of vulnerability. But that's besides the point. That's what it is. Make your decisions. Now, again, Prime, you know, that whole thing of onboarding, you can see Clearpool Prime is available only for whitelisted institutions. How do you get whitelisted? To get access to Prime, please submit an application. And this becomes a sense of centralization, sense of, you know, there's people behind this that are vetting the applications and going through the applications. I'm starting to feel by this entry point that this is a business that is that has a team that is very active here. Now, you could take this two ways. That's a healthy thing of having an active team that is you know, vetting all the participants into the Prime project or the Prime program. But then again, you could also look at it as a problem where it's centralized, right? When you have too many individuals, it starts to feel like, you know, input from the team becomes centralized, and then you start to think about, is this you know, a security? Just to throw that out there. Okay, so let's move on. The protocol itself, loans, I'm not going to get into all this detail because it does get into a lot of financial aspects of things. The callback, reinstate rate mechanism, the revenue. So the revenue is quite interesting because they earn revenue, protocol fee, and origination fee. Okay, sorry for the pronunciation there, but you can see that these fees are, and this is super important, these fees are collected and they're sent to the Clearpool treasury when a borrow repay transaction occurs. Okay, so let's keep it at that. When a borrow's repay transaction occurs, there's a fee that is collected and it's sent to the treasury. Okay, that's the most important thing. Now we go down here, the protocol fee, there's another fee, is a governance approved percentage of the pool interest, which is diverted to the protocol treasury. So it goes to the treasury. This is what I'm getting, this is what I'm understanding, is that these fees are going to the treasury. Now, I just want to correct this statement for a second here. Governance requires a DAO, and at this current moment, there is no DAO unless government is centralized. And I tried to get some information out of the team, and I tried to get as much clarity that they were willing to give me. And the only thing that I was able to get was the fact that there is no established DAO at the current moment, and the tokens that are that are not in circulation and that are currently vested, no longer in a contract, however, still vested in wallets that are free to, circulate. And I'm going to explain this a little bit more when we get to tokenomics once again. But these are not part of governance because there is no DAO. Okay, so this is a concern because, again, it's profitable. Let's say there's profits being made, but who is in control of those profits? That is the concern for me, because control suggests, again, seems decentralized and centralization. So we got to keep this clear that revenue right now, it seems to me, based on documentation and communication that I got, is that it seems to be very centralized because it's still under the governance of the team, not of a DAO. Okay, let's move on from there. You make your own decisions, guys. Product user guide, again, borrowers for lenders. This is how you use it. This is how you get involved. Very straightforward, very clean, maybe overly clean, maybe a little bit more detail, maybe some screenshots, maybe this and that, but you can see there's there's applications everywhere. Okay, so applications for me means who's reading all of this information and you know, identities, and it seems very centralized. Seems like an institutionalized traditional bank at the current moment. Okay, so this understand credit vaults again, credit risk scoring. Look at this. Who's doing the scoring? Who's doing, like, this is starting to get, you know, zero knowledge. I get it, so that nobody, you know, identity gets protected. But at the end of the day, what is the protocol behind, you know, basically assigning a score to someone's identity? This is again something that we need to look into this a little bit more forward. Clearpool has engaged Credora to provide credit ratings. So again, a third-party agency doing this. Guys, this starts to get me a little bit interested in a way of where I want to know more, but then again, maybe not. Maybe I'm not interested in this. Right? Like maybe this is a bit too institutionalized for me. And of course, institutionalization in some perspective could say, you know what, it reduces risk because I have, you know, third parties vetting and making sure everything is right. Again, guys, it's all about your stance on whether you appreciate completely decentralized or centralized protocols. You guys have to make that decision. Okay, so from that, you can see there's a lot of institutionalization here. For borrowers and lenders, okay, that's that. Now, dynamics, okay, you're able to enter and exit at any time, and there's a little bit of detail here. I'm not going to get into too much detail about how it works. You see banks, credit vault, we know that's a KYC onboarding and offboarding ramp, very common, very popular. Staking, Clearpool. Now, what is Clearpool? This is probably where we need to spend a little bit more time here. And again, I'm not going to do it too much because there's some things that we've already talked about and they kind of repeat, which is totally fine. But what I want to do is just go straight to, you know, some of the individuals, right? Fully doxed team, which is great. And I did have a moment to get into some of these individuals and look at their details as who they are, what they bring to the table. And I'll tell you this quickly before we get into their LinkedIn accounts. It's a fairly solid team. It's a fairly solid team. I am pleased to say that at least the team is solid. Now we got to get a little bit more into the details, and we'll do that in a second when I go onto their LinkedIn profiles. We'll quickly look at what they're about and what talents they bring to the table. Okay. Now the roadmap is highly outdated, guys. It ends at 2024. 1 year ago, guys, 1 year in tech space. Never mind crypto. And tech space is extensive. This is not. And subscribe to the Telegram channel. Unfortunately, it is only announcement based, so there's no community there. And then you go on the Discord. I'll give it to them. The Discord is there. There's communication. There's a community, and they're decent. They're ready to answer questions, and I applaud that. That's great. But as far as our roadmap goes and relying on social media to keep people up to date, I think that is not ideal. This is not ideal. We need official documentation to be priority. We want our retail investors to be able to trust official documentation, not informal posts on socials. Okay, socials is not the way you get investors interested to put money into into a protocol. Okay, so this right here needs a quick update. I'm not getting into any more details there. And back to the team. You can see there's a lot of good people here. Marketing, I think I didn't get into much of the marketing, guys. I feel like the marketing, again, no, you know, kudos to them for doing what they do. But the reality is there's a big confusion here with regards to marketing, and we'll talk about that when we get into the socials and the communication aspects of things. Careers, if you're interested in a job, they got you covered. The DAO, guys, there's no DAO coming soon. Nothing there right now. This Clearpool, and then they start talking about their different wallets. Ethereum, and so on and so forth. And we're going to talk about tokenomics in a second in a little bit more detail. The utility of the token, LP rewards, and it's not just that. Also, 11 months old, desperately needs an update because there's more than just yielding and staking and rewarding and all this. We have Ocean utility. They're going to be using Clearpool token, CPOOL, within the Ocean ecosystem, which should bring more use case for a CPOOL, and that should be a good thing, right? So again, I'm talking about CPOOL. I'm not talking about Ocean. I'm talking about the CPOOL token. What utility does it have at this current moment? There is no DAO, so there's no governance. There's no rewarding from that front. Just staking and getting rewards for lending and so on, and that's about it. it. Okay, so very simple, very yeah, and plus it's outdated. So what else can we say? Buybacks, a little bit more of that detail behind how it works, as far as the buying and the buybacks. The revenue that is generated from both permissionless and permission liquidity pools is used to buy back CPOOL, and they plan on, perhaps doing some burning. And again, usually buybacks, that's what happens, or burned, right? They're redistributed to LP token rewards or burn. Who makes that decision? Right, at this current moment, without a doubt, it's the team that makes the decisions at this current moment. So for me, that's a little bit of an issue. I'm not crazy about when there's liquidity out there that is controlled by the team completely, because it becomes a faith-based system. Now I'm gonna say this: the good thing is the most of the tokens are already in circulation. I would say about 76% already in circulation. There's a little bit of a discrepancy here with regards to vocabulary and language, and of course that's a big problem, because we need to get all on the same page as to what circulating supply means, and what vesting means, and what unlocking means. And again, the words and vocabulary can be deceiving, and I just want to make some things clear here before we move on to other aspects of this deep dive. Now, we can see that early seed round, private round, public round, all of these guys, they're out of the picture. They got their tokens already. Remember, 2021 launched, and they got their tech stack expanded in 2022. Regardless, you can see that the 12-month linear done, 3-month cliff, 12-month linear done, and all this is done. All these tokens are out there. The team, 6-month cliff, 24-month linear done. Everything is out there, pretty much all good. The issue is the treasury. And again, back to this treasury, guys, you can see that there's quite a bit of tokens that are allocated to treasury. Now, again, a lot of these are already out there. Just remember, 76, I think, % of the tokens are already into circulating supply. However, the team tries to make it sound like the tokens are still invested. And because they're still vested, they're locked. And I would like to say, I understand the logic of what they're trying to say here, is that they are not in circulation. However, guys, they could easily be put into circulation. We got to be clear about that. If the contract is no longer locked, the team at will could take those tokens out of the vesting wallets, whether they're multi-sig or not, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, they could be released into circulation whenever they choose. And this is what's all very, very important. So vesting treasury tokens enter circulating supply when they are removed from their respective wallets. But are they still locked into those wallets? They are not. And this is important. So you can track the circulating supply on CoinGecko, which is true. Treasury tokens are held in multi-sig cold storage, which, again, multi-sig, there's still chances of exploits, so just be real about that. But nonetheless, that is right now one of the most secure ways of holding liquidity and holding capital. And treasury in this case, but we have to understand that a lot of these tokens that are quote unquote vested still are not within a contract, okay, and they can be released by the team whenever they want, when they want, and whenever they want, and how much they want. Again, a little bit of a faith-based system, guys. You do your own research. Now, if we keep on going down, we see the markets. This is where they're listed. I don't even know if this is up to date, but I do got some information for you guys that I got on CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko, and CPOOL bridge. There's a bridge. That's another case of utility for ecosystem that Clearpool has. They have their bridge where they're able to go back and forth from various EVM compatible projects that they host, and that's great. Okay, so awesome. And then resources, white paper, you can take a look at that, media packs, smart contracts, and so on. The white paper is this itself, and different contracts for security, bug bounty, they got that, lending and borrowing, frequently asked questions, and so on. Okay, so that's that, guys. Now, more into the tokenomics, because again, that ambiguity, okay, and remember, this is November 25, 2022, so it is a little bit old, but this is what we got, and I'm assuming that this still holds, right? So you can see that the investors, the team, all of this is all very fine, but the majority of what we are worried about is this. Now, the majority of this is already in complete motion. We're about 40 months in, which is right about this level. Okay, let me see if I can make this bigger. Right around this level, you can see after this, this, the majority of the tokens are already out. We go to about 1 billion tokens. That's the max supply. And eventually you can see that we kind of taper off to the point that the aggressive unlocks has already been done. And that's good news. That's a great news. Although there's a bit of confusion with the tokens, at least you know the majority of them out there. The problem here is that the vesting schedule and everything, since it's quite matured, the language here, guys, it's all about the language. The actual release schedule is not known in advance. What does this have to do with anything? I'm just kind of confused here. According to DAOmaker, token release schedule chart above is somewhat misleading. It shows the vesting schedule. It is the vesting schedule, not the release schedule. The release schedule, for me personally speaking, again, this shouldn't be a personal thing, but based on what I understand of what tokenomics are all about, the release schedule, there's no real control here. It could be released whenever they want. The release schedule of the tokens entering circulating supply. So there is no schedule. So who makes the decision as to when they enter circulating supply? The actual release schedule is not known in advance. It is the interest of the transparency, and any amount of tokens equal to or greater than 10 million CPOOL that for whatever reason become due to entire circulating supply will be announced prior to the release. So who makes the decision when they're going to be released? They are in a vesting schedule. They've already got unlocked from their vesting schedule. They're held in their vesting wallets, but not released. Okay, but that doesn't mean anything. They can't be released now. They can be released at any moment. Right? So it doesn't matter. More details regarding this can be found here. So guys, you got to make your own decisions here. This is for me, and just to remind you, I am talking about a very small amount of capital because the majority of it is already in circulation. So it's not that bad, but just the vocabulary and the mindset here to understand is that if there's no contract securing the tokens investing, they're basically in circulation. You just got to wait for someone to put them in, sell them. That's a little bit, I'm a bit off about that. Okay, so let's move on. Now, another thing that I really do appreciate here is, okay, there is a bit of transparency here, which is awesome. You can easily make your own decisions. But one thing that I have to really understand is a lot of the revenue that they're earning is also going to get back into the pool of the treasury. So because it's in treasury, who is in control of the treasury? It's like almost like they can still make these decisions at will, right? So the treasury is not investing, and the rewards or the earnability of these tokens are not investing. They're not behind the DAO, as I mentioned. So team is in full control. They have a little bit too much control here for my liking. Again, just my opinion, guys. If we start looking at the contract here, we do see the max supply. We do see circulating supply. On-chain market cap is 114 million, which is $114 billion, which is quite a bit here. And circulating market cap, again, $87 billion, which, the 87 billion is pretty much what all the other providers provide, which is CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap. This is what they're focusing on, right? And of course, in the last little while, we've been seeing a bit of a dip throughout the market. So we've been seeing a bit of a downfall, but that's that. Now, what's more interesting to me is is the on-chain, because on-chain market cap is $114 million. Okay, fine. But then all of a sudden we start looking at their wallet size and the wallet distribution. You can see that there's some wallets, other accounts, these ones right here, 15%, and we got 18%, and these are contract wallets, right? So we need a bit of a transparency here as to what these wallets and who these wallets belong to. But I'm gonna assume that this is one of the contract wallets and so on. But you can see all the liquidity provided to exchanges: KuCoin, Bybit, Mexi, BitGet, and so on and so forth. So this is what we have to understand, is that although it is a young project, right? They are listed on many exchanges and they provided a lot of liquidity to multiple exchanges. And even though their market cap is right now $160 $107 million, and it just came down because the price is falling a little bit. As you can see, there's still an opportunity here for a small cap to rise after a dip here, and being providing liquidity on so many exchanges allows a lot of volume to enter the space when it has to enter. So they're prepared. We got to start seeing a recovery here as far as the markets in general. Okay, so that's that. They do have a Medium page, which is great. A lot of good communication here. 5 days ago, February 20. So they do post every so often, maybe about once a week or so, some various things. But I'm going to say this, okay? It almost loses its identity here. When we talk about marketing, we lose the identity very quickly because they're trying to integrate Ocean within Clearpool. And I almost feel like it's trying to piggyback on the Clearpool success. Whereas, like, instead of coming up with their own social platform for Ocean, they're just jumping on the Clearpool bandwagon or the Clearpool marketing campaign or marketing platforms that it has established. Now, the risk that you're taking there from a marketing perspective is confusion. Clearpool is a project on its own. Clearpool has its own value proposition. Clearpool has a token. Clearpool has its own community that was bullish on what it provided to the market. Then all of a sudden, I've seen this so many times over the years, is where, they expand. You see a project expand to a different idea or different value proposition, introducing another token or another, in this case, another project, another software utility, such as a blockchain, and then they integrate, and then you lose identity. So Clearpool is a lending and borrowing protocol. And if you look at here, all the communication on Medium has everything to do with Ocean, which is a real-world asset blockchain. It has nothing to do really with what Clearpool has to offer. It's a relationship that they have, but it is not one of which should be done on the same marketing platform. It's totally confusing. Look at this. Everything that they speak about, majority of it has everything to do with real-world assets and Ocean. So what are we buying here? What are we looking into? We're looking for Ocean, real-world assets, or are we talking about lending and borrowing protocol? Now, is Ocean going to provide that lending and borrowing for Ocean? Sure, but it should be very careful as to how you communicate this, because this looks like an Ocean page. It has nothing to do with Clearpool at this current moment. I don't know, maybe if I'm taking this wrong, let me know in the comment section below if I'm taking this wrong. But at the end of the day, again, I've done 90 deep dives, and I've been on this for a good while, looking at how projects communicate to the general public. And for me, this wouldn't be the best approach. And if we go on, you can see Clearpool launching Ocean. Ocean is the banner. Guys, confusing. This is a test. This has a real world asset. This is a blockchain. CPOOL is a different product. Again, more. And then you go here right into their Ocean Finance. It's like they're trying to divert from or funnel some of the communication, some of the marketing that they've established with Clearpool and funnel it into Ocean in a very aggressive way. In my opinion, that is a bit of a problem. I don't appreciate that, right? From a Clearpool investor or Clearpool, a person that is interested in Clearpool, I wouldn't appreciate that. Now, again, more communication, Ocean everywhere. Ocean, everything's about Ocean. Okay, trading here. CPOOL, this is good. On Bybit, awesome. And then Ocean everywhere. Ocean everywhere. And this for me, come up with your own X account and do your own thing, and then move forward there. And that's how I would do it. And again, the communication there is totally confusing. Now, let's talk about the team. Let's see what's going on with the team here. You can see the team has 16 associate members. I would say that the majority of them, the top people are all up here, of course. But the reality is it's somewhat of a small team. Now, it doesn't have to be a big team, but I'll tell you this, the team is solid. I appreciate the team. The team is pretty good. Lots of talent. Now, the talent comes mostly into DeFi, mostly into financial, right? They know their stuff. So let's talk about Robert here for a second. Co-founder and CEO, Syntax Technologies, co-founder and chairman of Clearpool Technology. Chairman, okay, just hear me out. When you hear the word chairman, what does that say to you? Co-founder full-time here at Syntax, and then co-founder full-time at Clearpool. one of my issues here when I see this is like I see one person, two jobs, big jobs. Okay, CEO and founders and co-founders, both on two big, right now in Dubai, different locations, and I understand remote, okay, but still, how is he separating himself for both projects and both endeavors? And that means that he's splitting some up of his human capital. I don't appreciate that particularly. I like when I see team members focused on one project, and it could be that maybe there's not enough, maybe Clearpool is too small, but doesn't matter, guys. Ultimately, that's something that I critique and I look for. Full-time, another full-time employment. No, this is present. Okay, this is present, and this is not present. Okay, that's fine. We're good. So that's that. Now, if you look at his background, education, MIT, this is good. Futures, commerce, and fintech. So financial tech. This is where I'm saying part of the tech industry, but more importantly, financial tech. Okay, and finance being part of the finance and investment management. So this individual is clearly qualified to be part of a leadership team for Clearpool. Clearly. Okay, so let's move on. Let's see another heavyweight. We got Jacob, co-founder of Clearpool Finance as well. Let's see what he's got to offer, and so we can get an understanding. He is completely right now, presently employed for almost 4 years, CEO, co-founder of Clearpool. Okay, that's good. Aspire full-time. This is done. Okay, which is fine. So it seems that he's completely focused on Clearpool at the current moment, which I appreciate. And business strategy, skills, marketing strategy, okay, recommendation languages. I don't see his background. He's definitely an entrepreneur, a full-time entrepreneur, chief growth officer, and head of corporate platform Asia, and so on and so forth. So I see like this is a management, business administration, management, international management. He's a business guy. He knows his finance. He knows his business. He knows what, execution, and it could be a good, definitely a match there for the team to have someone that's enterprise driven. Alessio, let's see what he's got here. Another heavyweight, some connections there, co-founder of Hex Trust, and so on, CEO and co-founder of Hex Trust, fine. And then Clearpool, present, both presently employed in both endeavors, and obviously even here presently employed co-founder in Syntact Technologies, and there's a lot here. This is one of my issues, is that there's too many presently employed. Either this page is not up to date or not, it doesn't matter. That this is what it says. I see a lot of integration, especially with the Synax scenario and this Hex Trust. I've seen this already on white papers and things like that, and heavily integrated into the DeFi brokerage space, which is obviously right within the realm of Clearpool's value proposition, which is great. I'm not saying it's not. I just feel like this individual is highly involved in many different things regarding DeFi, which is a good thing. But how much value is he focusing on to Clearpool? Quantitative finance program, banking, corporate finance, and securities law at Stanford. Good. Definitely MBA in finance. What else do we want? That's great. Obviously lots of value there and lots of talent there with regards to finance and all of that good stuff. Guys, heavyweights, right? Heavyweights. I'm being very critical, and I'm trying to be critical so we can be very honest about it. But the reality is these guys are great. These guys have a lot to offer. And then here we got this dude right here. We got Vadim, very talented individuals. Also co-founder, CEO of Holdex, full-time in Hong Kong. Is he remote? I'm assuming presently employed here. But then also we got presently employed here at Clearpool, chief of product and technology. Now, I would have loved to see this individual. Now, could be the case, but it's not clearly defined here. I would love to see this individual have a tech background, in the sense that he's a software engineer or something like that. And I'm assuming that they do have some heavyweight software engineers, but I couldn't find anything that tells me that there's, they're proud of their tech talent. I couldn't see that. Now, I'm assuming that they do, because they got tech coming out. And University of Rome, this is great. very talented individuals here, and you can see economics and finance and so on and so forth, quality management, innovations. This is good, but where are the software engineers here? So I tried my best to go through it all, and I couldn't find someone that I was really bullish on as far as the back end tech, and it would be nice to have that individual clearly listed somewhere, because it is a blockchain project. We're talking about crypto here, and that should be one of the main focuses, is who's driving the tech, right? Although this is growth and all of that, and he's front running or running the tech side of things, but he's not a software guy. I don't see him to be, unless there's something missing here. Okay, so keep that all in mind, guys. We're just trying to be very clear and transparent of all of this. The team is solid. It just, I feel like a little bit more regarding the tech side of things would be great. So as you can see, there's a lot of good stuff here. The team is interesting. The project is interesting. There's a little bit of ambiguity here that could be clarified, but as per usual, guys, I do release an infographic that should give you a little bit more clarity. I'm going to release this infographic across the socials, so feel free to go check that out. Let's do a quick summary of what I spoke about here. Clearpool, it is a lending and borrowing protocol. Okay, so Ocean real world blockchain bridge, that's its ecosystem. I am more bullish on the fact that Clearpool as a token is eventually going to provide utility or inherit utility by being involved as the Ocean token, which would be great. And then we have to understand that Ocean is part of its ecosystem, right? So this is where things get interesting, and this is where I wish they would have communicated this a little bit better, instead of trying to overtake CPOOL, almost like add it as a utility or an extension of CPOOL. Maybe a bit of better of understanding from that perspective would have been better, but as you can see, their ecosystem is still kind of like in the works. Ocean is not even established. They're still in testnet. So I'm going to be very clear that this needs to be taken from a speculative consideration. And they do have a bridge, which is part of the ecosystem as well. And of course, their ecosystem in itself with their lending and borrowing, propositions, which is great. Okay, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 because we have to put a layer of forward thinking with Ocean. Okay, if it does well within the hot narrative of real world asset, we got to integrate that into our mindset to a degree, because it's part of its ecosystem. Now we can see the utility, 6 out of 10. LP yield rewards utility token for Ocean, again improving. If it wasn't for Ocean, the utility behind CPOOL itself would be very weak. But because we're speculating here, and again 6 out of 10 speculation with Ocean integration, it should provide better utility. LP yield rewards is not enough for me for when I'm looking at, should I scale into a token? There's no governance, there's nothing there. The roadmap doesn't even tell you what's coming up in the future or anything. It's outdated. It's there. They try to keep you up to date on the socials, and again, the socials are really focused on Ocean right now instead of CPOOL in itself, and I think that's a bit of a problem and a bit of communication problem, and it goes down to marketing and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to kind of go scooch down to the team. The team is where we actually get quite interested. Lots of fintech talents. It's a small team, but I would love to see more blockchain talent. I would love to see that clarity. Who is the talent behind the blockchain, making critical decisions about the tech stack and so on and so forth. I would like to see that. That would make me interested from a tech enthusiast, right? So if we want tech enthusiasts to look at these fundamentals and get excited, we need to know who's front running or who's leading that as far as those decisions. So that would be great, and that would be useful. But the team is solid. I appreciate the team and what they have to offer. I think they definitely have enough to drive this to success. The socials, on the other hand, I'm not crazy about them. Although they do have 110,000 followers on X, they are drastically coming down in the last 30 days. Okay, they're down 465% in comparison to the previous 30 days, which means that they're actually losing followers. They're down approximately 6,000 followers. And what is the reason behind that? Now, I know the crypto space in general is taking a bit of a hit right now, but this could be attributed to the confusion behind Ocean and all the rest, and the lack of a focus with regards to their communications. Again, I'm just seeing why as it is. As an outside individual, the first time visitor and the first time a person that didn't know anything about CPOOL, walking in with a fresh pair of eyes, and keeping in mind that I do deep dives every single week on a particular project, releasing a 1-hour video, about my experience and my perceptions. Guys, it's very confusing. It's very, very confusing. So if I'm confused, a person that's been in this industry for years, imagine a retail investor that is coming in and trying to figure out, should I speculate on this project? Guys, there's got to be a level of clarity here. 51 X posts in the last 30 days, actually down 12%. Okay, but they're still doing 50 posts a day, which is fine. It's just, the lack of stability in their social followings is definitely concerning. Okay, so that's that. Now, tokenomics, the remaining tokens are locked in multi-sig wallets, okay, which is very few. Okay, there's not many. 76% is in circulation, more or less. Okay, so we got to understand. And still, guys, I'm going to keep that out there. It's still ambiguous with regards to circulating supply because of the numbers that are not really matching up and so on and so forth. So I'm doing my best here. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know in the comment section below if we need to make some updates and amendments here. But I'm doing my best with what the information is there on the internet and on their official documentation. Treasury is still vesting, but not locked in the contract. So this is something that we have to understand. The team is saying that yes, the tokens are unlocked, but they're still in their vesting of wallets. So, but they're unlocked. It doesn't matter if they're in their investing wallets. Can the team take them out? Yes, whenever they feel. Is there a DAO to control that? No, there isn't. So the team is full in control of the tokens at the current moment that are not locked. Okay, that's important. Treasury is in control. The Treasury is in control of the Treasury. The team is in control of the Treasury. Guys, sorry for the mistake there. But you can see, whoa, on my other deep dives, I got quite a few of them. There we go. That's that. Now we can see the relationships that they got going on. Quite interesting because all of viable relationships are related to Ocean at the current moment. This is the thing. Ocean as a project in itself deserves its own attention. It deserves its own X page. It deserves its own Discord. It deserves its own ecosystem of socials, of communication, its own relationships. It deserves all of that because in and itself, it could compete with projects on its own value proposition. CPOOL has its own value proposition, it should be compared with its own narrative. And I think that would be a viable scenario and not making it so ambiguous there. So its relationships currently for CPOOL, there is none. There's some exchange relationships, whether they be DEXs or futures options, and things like that. But that's great. But still, I don't see much happening there for CPOOL, unfortunately. Ocean is what's happening for CPOOL. Okay, so that's that. Exchanges, lots of listings. We got Kraken, Bing, X, Bybit, KuCoin, Gate, and many others. We're just waiting on a few major ones. Maybe some Coinbase, maybe some Binance, and so on. That would be obviously really good. I know these amalgamate to some pretty heavy ones, given that Bybit is pretty large. Even KuCoin is pretty big, and MEXC, and so on. But we know the value of being listed on Coinbase and Binance. So I'm just going to keep that there, just to keep that in mind, that there is still an opportunity for that type of listing that could cause the price to run a little bit higher, okay, based on that. So my overall summary on CPOOL, what do I think? Obviously, what's more important is what you think, because really what I think is based on my own, thesis and what I value into a project. And what I value into a project is one of which that is decentralized, that is transparent about their decentralization or centralization, one that has clear communication, and one that has an identity that is very clear to the retail investor. Because retail investors, when there's ambiguity and a lack of clarity, either they're going to start gambling or they're going to just look the other way because it's over and beyond them, right? This is something that we have to understand. We're trying to attract capital in a very speculative space. DeFi, lending, borrowing, it is a USA project. It's a USA-based project. And for some reason, some people want to connect this to real-world assets. And we understand why, because of Ocean. TGE was 40 months ago. That's a great piece of information. DAO is not established. This is super important because there's lots of words regarding governance, and governance is important to understand that that there's various ways that a project can be governed, and there's also various ways that a project can be decentralized. And from a governance perspective, it is not decentralized. At this current moment, there is no DAO. Okay, so who calls the shots? Right? We have to keep that clear. Future utility will include governance. Plain and simple. Telegram is announcement only. You can't communicate there, but Discord does. It does provide an opportunity for communication and community building, but it doesn't clearly represent CPOOL. In fact, the Discord logo is an Ozian logo. Right? So this for me is, again, miscommunication, lack of identity. I am confused as to what we should be buying here. Is there going to be an Ozian token later? This is something that I'm really, and without a roadmap, I don't know what's happening here. And I am left in the dark a little bit here about what to think, right? So again, guys, CPOOL, Ozian, what's that? Marketing efforts of CPOOL and Ozian are intertwined and can be totally confusing. I know I said that multiple times, but it's permeated through many aspects of the project that leave me, again, confused. And again, it could be me. Let me know in the comment section below what you think, what you feel about it, and maybe I'm taking this the wrong way. But guys, that's my impression. First impression is that CPOOL, and guys, again, the landing page. Just go on their website and tell me what you think. CPOOL with the market cap of Aave, right? Aave, a lending protocol, right? 28x. Is that possible? Sure. Why not? Why not? Let's take it for what CPOOL is. It's a lending and borrowing protocol. Aave, $4 target, possibly 28x. Possibly. Amazing stuff there. We could see a $4 price tag, possibly. All possible if CPOOL tries to be similar to the value proposition of what Aave offers and doesn't deviate. If it deviates, it's taking risk and it's trying to find competition in other narratives that we don't know if it's going to be able to compete. So right now I'm comparing CPOOL with what it offers and comparing it to a project of what that offers a very similar value proposition. I give this project a 5 out of 10, mostly because of the lack of identity and tokenomics and centralization and all of that kind of stuff. Guys, of course, do your due diligence, do your research, and make sure that you're comfortable in what you buy and the amount of capital that you deploy. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with the price action. Ultimately, price action, and it's not just CPOOL, it's the entire market, is not looking really good. It's been falling. CPOOL is dipping. People is coming back down to bottoms of which we've never expected. And the question is, where do we find this bottom? Should we be buying the dip? Let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. Now we can see that ultimately the retracement is definitely in mature state. It is really in a mature state. Like, this has been falling and falling and falling. Now ultimately it's to get into a fresh short right now is not what you should be doing. You shouldn't be selling now. Now is not the time to sell. If you would have sold above 45 cents, 50 cents, 55 cents, 60 cents, whatever, did we even reach 60 cents? Close enough. If you sold up there, congrats. Congrats. Why? Because you're able to defend yourself. You were able to retain your gains. You were able to remove capital from the equation, where now you can reintroduce it into the equation at much lower levels, as you can see. So if you haven't, though, the reality is the majority of the dip should be in. The majority of the retracement is here, guys. We're at a level where emotions are extreme. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to go get a bounce and go in price discovery and all-time highs and start rocketing to the top. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that selling now, you're running the risk that we get some relief at base. Let's just be modest about all of this. Obviously, I am here in this crypto space. I do expect that projects are going to go back to all-time highs in price discovery. Obviously, right now, there's a lot of fear, emotional, and doubt, and uncertainty and doubt at the current moment. So much emotion out there that people are right now thinking bear market, right? And guys, I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller, but what I can tell you is this. In the short term of where we are right now on this chart, you are selling into support. That's the biggest point here. You are selling of where we've gotten support before. It's an emotional level. It's a reactional level. It's a level that we could even get some relief. I am not saying all-time highs in price discovery, but at least some relief. Now, if we get Fibonacci, and I'm just going to keep it very, very basic here today with the price action, because again, it's much easier to come with a bearish thesis because we're dipping. But what about a bullish thesis? When do we actually prepare ourselves for some relief, at minimum relief? Not a higher high. We could do it, but relief. Golden pocket, all the way up here, 40 cents. Why not? Very good level. 0.5 fib, maybe a nice 50% retracement respecting the previous high. Sure, why not? Then right here, you can say, okay, maybe I will take some profit. Maybe I will exit. Maybe I will. If we get rejection here, maybe we come down again. Maybe I will get defensive on some of my gains this time. And maybe we'll get an opportunity. Maybe we come up to the 886. What do I know? Maybe a double top, right? Obviously. But at the current moment, what you should be focusing on is where are we going to form a bottom? Because we're close enough to suggest that a bottom should be coming in at any moment. Now, of course, you know, market cap matters with regards to volatility. And as you can see, we keep on falling. The data that I did provide in this deep dive is going to become outdated as we see this volatility hit the market. So keep that in mind as well. And the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, you know, at this current moment is not at the greatest in favor of the bulls. However, guys, just keep in mind as I'm here, CME gaps do generally close, and we could get a nice bounce to the upside coming into the beginning of the week, Monday, if you're depending on when you're watching this. But we can see a bounce here, and what I would like to see is proof of that. At least give us a hesitation here at the bottom or something, and I would only be buying spot. Right, because ultimately, if it keeps on falling through this volume gap, and you can see below this horizontal level, this level right here, this is the most important, one of the most important levels in this entire chart. If we break below this level, sorry guys, wrong tool. Let me just get this thick yellow line a little bit thicker. I just want to make it nice and visual for you guys. So you can see if we break below this, we're breaking bottoms. We're making a change of character. We're no longer making higher highs and higher lows. In fact, we're making our first lower low in comparison to the structure, which is an ugly thing. And then we start asking ourselves, where's the next level of support? Well, guys, I'm gonna say right here, the next level of support is at about 5.5 cents, right? 5.6 cents, maybe 6 cents, right around here. Now we can hunt a bit of liquidity. We can come down, hunt a little bit of this, and then finally find our round and bottom and start moving to the upside. We could definitely get a swing failure like we've done before. Sweep down here, get some people wrecked that put stop losses very tightly around here, and then bounce to the upside once again. At this current moment, you're trying to catch a falling knife. That's the bottom line. So spot only, small bags. If you're going to accumulate, buy a little bit here, maybe 10%. Buy a little bit down here, maybe another 10%, and see where it goes. What you should be doing is reserving capital when we produce a pivot point structure, a structure of which that suggests a reversal, bullish divergence, inverse head and shoulders, cup and handles, Adam and Eve's patterns. You want to wait for oversold conditions, which we're almost there. We're entering oversold conditions here on CPOOL. You want to see a change of character where we start, instead of making lower lows and lower highs, we want to see some evidence that all of a sudden we are making a higher high and a higher low. And at that point, we can start looking for accumulation in a bigger way. Rather than just 10% as we are falling, we can start deploying a little bit more aggressively, maybe raising some capital, maybe introducing a little bit more capital to deploy within the pivot point structure, similar to what happened here, right? We start seeing a change of character, lower lows and lower highs, then all of a sudden, what? Higher highs and higher lows. And we start looking for reversal structures. Right now, this is not a reversal structure, guys. We're taking the elevator down. We're coming down pretty hard. So be very, very careful. Guys, this is it. This is the reality. This is the moment of truth. Guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Guys, if you want to vote on the next deep dive that I cover, join the Discord, place your requests, and we vote. We vote on all the deep dives that I release every single week. So feel free to join. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.